Yo,
Welcome back to another week, to another segment of
express yourself podcast, man.
Yes, sir.
Let's do it,
It's
man.
your boy Butters.
Ways,
We got a guest today.
got a guess, man. Hey, this is our Lily. This is our fucking sophomore teacher. We graduated in 2014, so this is probably 2012, 2011, 2012.
Mm-hmm.
English teacher.
Yep.
T-Bizzle for shizzle.
See, Billy, fucking maniac. Also, fucking a real teacher, y'all. When I say real teacher, man, I say that, and I mean that in the sense of just that actually cares about you. It's not about the scores. You know what I'm saying? It's not about he's not pleasing nobody, but trying to make sure that you actually succeed in life. You know what I'm saying? It was always like school and life. Both of them matter just as much. And he had immense amount of understanding with whatever your circumstances were. I mean, for anybody. He wouldn't have put up with your shit, but he understood it and tried to accommodate it. You know what I'm saying? But he was ready to go there. If you want to go there, he was gonna go there with you.
That's because I understood where it came from.
Yeah, exactly. And I knew that's how to be what it is. So before we get started, y'all, hey, like this if you like it. Comment if you got a moment. Yeah, share it if you care. If somebody that you care about can benefit from this content, go ahead and hit that share button. And if you're down for the ride,
Go ahead and subscribe.
all right, man. Hey, Bailey, is there any before we get started, is there any social media thing that you want to give them a tag or that you want to get a hold of you?
If you check out on Facebook, there is a Coalition for Excellence in Public Education of Northeast Indiana. I am the director of that group. My wife, Mrs. Madeline Bailey, is the associate director, and we are engaged in the process of trying to advocate for public schools and to try to get pro-public education candidates elected to office so that we can ensure a bountiful future for teaching and learning for the kids in this state and in Northeast Indiana. So the Coalition for Public Excellence in Public Education of Northeast Indiana. So just find us on Facebook. We have a website, and we launched our YouTube channel, but we haven't made any videos yet.
Okay. And we'll have the link to what he said inside of the description. So if you guys are curious, it's gonna be down there in the description, okay? Bailey, what's up, man? What you want to talk about, man? What we gonna bust this
First thing I want to say, like, I'm glad that I never lost contact with you guys because, like, Gustavo was stuck in that 6th period language arts class with me at Northside. But he did a nice job, and full disclosure, he passed his English 10 ECA the first time. He was quiet, but he was one of the brighter kids in the class. And you know, Manny, with the gift for gab, you know he passed his English 10 ECA. He made us look really good.
Easy, man. No, man, I told you this, man. I credit you this, and like I said, you're a part of my story forever, man. I tell a lot of people this shit, and I mean this shit. I'm looking at you in your eye like, you taught me how to read. When I mean that, and you know what I mean the comprehension, bro. When you seen my Lexile score, which is what it's called here in Indiana and Fort Wayne. I mean, at least I know as far as Indiana.
Oh, no, it's scholastic. It's an actual, like, measured thing.
So it's a measured for your reading and your comprehension with your reading. When he seen my score, we had already had several conversations. He's met me and he understood me as a being. He's like, no, this is not who you are. There's something missing here. And you took your time to actually help me understand how to comprehend what I was reading. And I got the much needed support and attention. And by that end of that year, my score had raised so much significantly that, I mean, for the rest of I read books now. You know what I'm saying? And I love to read now. And it had a lot of credits to go with you.
Well, I'm grateful for that because my feeling of admiration is the other way for you guys too, because I like seeing you guys become great young men the way that you have been. And it doesn't get talked about a lot, but like, the grade behind you and you guys were responsible for saving Northside High School from state takeover. Because if you recall, we had Mitch Daniels and Tony Bennett threatening to take over schools, and I had taught at Elmhurst before I taught at Northside, and it was like we had to get results, or they were going to just shut down the school, and a charter school company could come in for $1 and take everything that was in it. And then you guys would have been stuck with Imagine Master Academy on State Street, essentially, which would have been chaos and cacophony. So you guys saved Northside High School from state takeover, the 2 classes that I got to teach. And in fact, too, I don't know, like, you can look this up, but prior to me going to Northside, the success rate on the English 10 ECA was less than 40%. And granted, it was the first year it was administered, so sometimes you don't know what you're doing, blah, 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 blah. But like Northside was under state threat for 6 straight years, getting an F from the Indiana Department of Ed.
Damn, a F.
And it was, to be honest with you, it was because it's the type of kids, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
teachers not being equipped to deal with the type of problems that they had. So they had to bring in new people that were more equipped and had more training in those types. This is why, Mr. Hissong, who was the principal then, he brought me along, he brought Shabazz Khalik along, because when we were in Elmhurst, we were able to educate everybody. And same thing with Deb Birch. She was a wonderful math teacher at Elmhurst and at Northside. They got those algebra scores. Greg Rare. It's talking about Northside legend. Greg Rare, Coach Rare.
Rare. I was thinking about Rare, yeah.
Yeah, he, in addition to being a great basketball coach, he is one of the best algebra math teachers that I've ever gotten to watch teach. And, he's retired now, so you don't have to stress out about that. But, I mean, if you guys had him, you know what I'm talking about. He never lost his cool. He could explain things so that people understood them. They would master them. We would go slower in order to master things. But in those 2 years, we went from less than 40% to when you guys were sophomores, it was 70% pass rate. So we almost doubled the pass rate in 2 years because we had some great teachers come in, but we also had great students like you that were like ready. You guys were ready to be taught. I know that might contradict what people perceive about schools, but actually a lot of kids, they come wanting knowledge. They may not know that. They come needing and wanting discipline. They would never say it that way. Mm-hmm. But I think that was one of the successful things. And I'm very proud to have been part of that. And I'm going to give credit where credit is due to Ed King and the band kids. Because the band kids always were academic achieving, but they took it to a next level.
They were.
Yeah.
I remember that's one thing. I remember our band. I remember being there. That motherfuckers were too.
Well, yeah.
They took care of business
in
the classroom.
Well, and the jazz band, the Wildsiders, man, they just won the state championship at the ISMA competition for jazz band, and that's the third one that I've seen in my lifetime because they repeated before in like 2019 and I believe 2018. Talented kids with great educators that are inspiring them to do great things. And that's what we need to invest in as a society, So
which part? The educators?
The educators and the kids. I mean, because here's the thing. We were kind of talking about this before the camera went on. So you got a kid, right?
Yeah, we try not to, y'all. It's Bailey, man. If you guys know who he is, man, hey, man, he don't know how to talk nothing but real shit. So we had to get on.
Well, you get a kid, right? And 1/3 of whether or not they're successful in school actually is at the school. The other 2/3 are on things that go above and beyond the school. Like, do you have a safe place to live? Do you have a stable place to live? Yeah. Do you have parents that look out for you in the right ways? If you're sick, do you have access to health care? When you're absent for school, do you make it a point to come back to school eventually, right? And not to mention like the intrinsic things. So like in your case, you guys were actually quite motivated. Like when I get into a new classroom and I'm trying to figure out who's motivated to do the right thing in here. Like you guys fell into that group, like having Jeremy Jones in that class was a huge asset.
I ain't gonna lie.
Mm-hmm.
That was huge.
And so
I know how he was so intelligent at that moment, but he knew so much. Well, he grew up. His mom, his
yeah,
family,
they
were educated folks.
Yes,
they were educated folks. He had an educated family, so actually I do know now.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back, but at that moment, I was like caught me up. Like, he knows this shit. He knows how to help you, and you allowing him to help me.
Yeah.
On an isolated aspect was huge.
Well, part of being a good teacher is knowing when to step aside.
Man, that was huge, man. Right. And you really, bro, it's huge.
So you guys, need to take some credit for like saving Northside High School. And nobody ever said thank you to us. I'm just going to tell you that right now. And if you're waiting for them to say thank you, they're not going to. But I appreciate that the class that you guys were in were able to be part of the biggest turnaround. Like Kayvon Anderson, all those, Latavion guy, like all those guys that had a freshman football team the year before came into the classroom, knocked it out. That's what this is about.
I got you.
So, but it goes back to like one of the things, and this is, you asked me to come on the show.
I want you to.
Oh, I couldn't wait. because I wanted to discuss some things about being powerful, about the philosophy of power, about getting what you want. And you've experienced this because you've had to make your own way.
Sure. Ways.
Know that.
Always ways, man.
Always ways.
Yeah.
So true.
But the first thing that you need to start with is you have to start with, why are you here? Right? How did you get to this point, and why do you want to become powerful? If you don't know what has made you who you are, you have no power. You have no voice. So, like, one of the reasons that I feel like we always got along, and I did as a teacher with my profession, was I was not a good student in high school. I was not, it was a shock and a surprise when one of my high school administrators found out that I got a teaching degree in English, of all things. And being somebody who had bad things happening in my life, my dad was drunk every day, okay? Yeah. And my mom worked 2 jobs just so that we could afford to live where we were living. Watching people get away with bad stuff, never feeling comfortable or confident with myself. And really, it wasn't until the age of 19 that I flipped the script on that. But I had a lot of bad things happening to me. When people say, oh, he's a bad reader, blah, blah, blah. I was the bad reader when I was in high school. He's a bad kid. I was the bad kid. I mean, I did some dumb stuff in high school, Yeah. Which I told you guys some stories in class that we're not going to share on the podcast.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. No, real shit.
But the thing is that the reason I became an educator is when I look back at the key moments of my life, when I look specifically at high school, who was the first person I name as keeping me out of trouble? My high school football coach. I accidentally called him Dad on 3 separate occasions because I didn't want to go home to drunkenness and mess. I wanted to go lift weights and I wanted to go play football. And so it kept me away from home. And one thing that you can say about Coach Dave Sukup, who he still coaches tennis up at Forest Hills Northern High School in Grand Rapids, Michigan. He was there. When I walked into the weight room, he's like, "Hey, Bailey." I mean, he was enthusiastic to see me. The second major mentor in my life was the French teacher, Miss Jill Maurice. Now, I was an idiot. I did not take French 5 my senior year, and I regret it. I was lazy my senior year. I had gotten ahead on credits despite my bad grades, and I chose not to take French 5. But to this day, I can speak fluent French because of her. And not only that, she had a piano in her class. And when I was going through a really rough patch, especially my senior year, you get to the end of football season and you don't win a championship, and you've been waiting to win a championship. You get to the end of basketball season and, we weren't that good anyway. I was in some very deep, dark depression. And even though I wasn't in her class anymore, she would let me go into her classroom and play that piano during passing period. And the bell would ring, so I'd be tardy, and then I'd stop playing, and then I'd run to my next class. But just letting me play. And also, when my grades were slipping in her class, she called me out. She made me stay after school. And, there's something to be said of accountability, because accountability is a form of love. And so Jill Maurice took care of me in ways that maybe weren't apparent at that time.
I like that.
The other one then is when I got to Grand Rapids Community College, I had a professor. His name was Dr. Scott McNabb. He still lives up in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And he sat me down because I was taking this English 101 class in college. And up to that point, my high school teachers were like, you will write a 5-paragraph essay, the introduction, body paragraphs, conclusion. There's like, you're going to follow this form. And because I was oppositional defiance disorder, I was like, I ain't doing that. That's doing too much. That's what the kids say. Like, man, you're gassing it, right? We didn't say that back in the 90s, but
right.
So, but I also thought it was kind of like an uncreative way of writing. And so I didn't do it, and I didn't take it seriously. And so I had to take English 101 at Grand Rapids Community College. And he pulled me aside. We like mid-semester, we didn't have class. You just went to his office. And he's like, hey, you have like some really powerful writing here. He goes, but you need to stop writing it for me. You need to stop writing it for the teacher. You need to start writing it for you. And he took the reins off. He allowed me to explore genres of writing without the boundaries of the 5-paragraph essay. I'll do that. Sure, yeah. Which now I'm hypocritical because I need all the 8th graders to write a 5-paragraph essay in 45 minutes or less. But you know, you get the point.
Yeah,
right?
I got you, man. No, I got you, man.
So
That's real shit.
So he flipped the script and he told me I was a good writer, and I had an A for the first time in language arts in my life, in English class. And then I took him semester 2, and we had to write a research paper. And I was like, I have this idea for a research paper. I didn't run it by him, but I had a friend in the class, and I said, you know, everybody's watching the Jerry Springer show. Like you've seen the Jerry Springer show, right?
You know we have.
Good. I was gonna say like it hasn't aged itself out yet.
Maybe I'll see that shit.
So everybody at 10 a.m. at Grand Rapids Community College is in the Commons watching a big screen TV, watching the Jerry Springer show, and they're like, "Oh hell no! Oh that bitch is tripping!" I mean, they're like talking during the show, and I'm just like watching, and it's ridiculous. And I'm just like, all right, this is kind of fun to watch. and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do a research paper about the Jerry Springer show. Like I'm gonna do a research paper. So I did my research. I found out about Jerry's background. I don't know if you know this, but Jerry was the mayor of Cincinnati, Ohio.
I know.
And he got kicked out of office.
Jerry Springer was the mayor of Cincinnati?
Yes.
Damn.
And
hell no, I know that.
wait, I mean, so he's like a smart guy, generally speaking, right? Even on the show, like
I was like, he talks smart to me. I ain't gonna lie. I thought he was smart. He always seemed smart to me.
Yeah.
Bro, you heard what he said.
Yeah. But the thing is then, what got him out of office is he was writing checks to prostitutes, like with his personal check. Like, could you imagine like writing a check to like, you know, Black Magic, like, and getting caught?
I did not know that he did that shit.
Anyway.
Damn.
So that was part of my research.
Yeah, it's a research.
So I did all this research. I looked him up. I watched a bunch of the shows, which, by the way, like, you just haven't lived until you've seen shows like Christmas with the Klan or, you know, Pimps versus Hoes. You know, like, there's no better cultural artifacts than these goofy shows. So I watched these shows, did my research, and I go, I'm going to write the research paper, but I'm not going to write it like, you know, a paper where like you have an intro and then, you know, your research. I'm going to write a script to a Jerry Springer show. So it'll be like stage directions, fade in, crowd chanting, Jerry, Jerry, Jerry.
Oh, shit. Wow.
Jerry appears with blah, blah, blah. And this is Jerry Springer. Hello, welcome to my show. The secret's revealed. And I wrote it like an actual script to a Jerry Springer show, but I put all the research stuff in there and like did my MLA formatted parentheses and stuff.
Yeah.
And I gave it to my friend to look at before I turned it in, and I'm like, "What do you think?" She's like, "I don't know. I don't know what he's gonna do." I said, "Well,
is it different?
It's too late. Different. I gotta turn it. It's due in 5 minutes." So.
Not real shit.
And so I got it back and I got an A+, and he was like, I want to show this to other people, you know, so I signed a form so he could use it as a model essay for other people. He's like, but it's amazing how somebody that takes away.
Gave you the freedom.
Yeah.
Gave you that freedom, though.
Yeah. So now we're 3 for 3. We have 3 educators that have been the people that were the biggest influences in my life. And then the 4th one was, at that same age, I coached football with somebody that I had played against in high school. So I played for Coach Dave Suka. When he quit coaching football and focused on like the boys and girls tennis teams, Irv Sigler came and he was the coach at Belding High School. Now we had played against them, and my senior year, and they beat us. They beat us 15-6 was the final score. But they had beaten the tar out of everybody. They were good. And they ended up losing to the next state champion, which was East Grand Rapids that year in the regional final. But their first game of the year, they scored 68 points. And I'm like, Coach, I got a chance to talk to Coach Sigler. I was like, Coach, how are you going to put 68 on Greenville like that? And he's like, Coach Bailey, that's how he talked. Coach Bailey, that's not my fault. I put in 5 different quarterbacks. I played my JV for the entire second half.
Yeah.
I cannot control if the other team fumbles all the time and throws interceptions. And my 5th and 6th string players have practiced hard enough that I'm not going to tell them to take it easy on anybody. And I was like,
That's fair.
all right.
That's what it is.
So, but what was the turning point with him is at halftime, because my brother was playing on that team, my younger brother who died in 2010.
Yeah.
He, we got to halftime and we were losing to Sparta. And we never used to lose to Sparta High School. We were, forced, it'd be like losing to a bad team like in the SAC that normally, you know what I'm saying? And, but they were just beating us, just beating us flat out. And I wondered what Coach Sigler was going to do, because when we were losing, when I was a player, the coach came in and they just started chewing you out. Cussing at us, kicking trash cans and stuff. And I was like, ooh, what's Coach Sigler going to do?
Right.
Because he won state championships and stuff before that. They beat the Belding Redskins in 1994, beat Detroit Country Day 50-41 in the highest scoring MHSA finals game. And they were down 35-7 at halftime. So they put up, 40 plus points in a half. And they only threw the ball once, which that's even more uncanny if you think about it.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is I'm like, what's he going to do? What's he going to say? And he goes into the locker room, and I'm in the back of the locker room, but he comes in the side. And I'm like, what's he going to say to these guys? I totally thought he was going to rip them up. I thought he was going to start cussing at them. And he gets up in front of the team, and he, in a very calm voice, goes, "Gentlemen, this game can only be played with maximum effort, enthusiasm, and intensity. The next play is the most important play, and you're the most important player on the field. And if you want to have a chance of winning this game, you have to believe those things." That was the end. And then he turned, he's like, and they're running, he gets the marker board, they're running this and this and this. That was it. No, you blew it. No cussing. Effort, enthusiasm, intensity. Effort, enthusiasm, intensity. I stood in the back of that room, and those 3 words went in my ears for the rest of my life. And a lot of what you saw in me as a teacher is if I don't have effort, enthusiasm, and intensity for what I'm about.
He was very intense, by the way.
My students aren't
Very
gonna have
intense,
that.
as y'all can tell.
Well, and that's the thing, is that's what power is about, though, is know where you're from, right?
Yeah.
You knew where you're from.
Right.
Talk about when we first met back when you were a sophomore. What was life like for you prior to that?
Yeah, really, what shit. From coming from Gary, man.
Did you have a lot of positive experiences with school? Yeah.
No, honestly, no. I had we just came back from Gary 2 years prior to that, because we spent 1 year in New Haven. And then even that was weird. That was weird as heck. I was just trying to make the transition from a environment like Gary, which is, you don't have, there's no resources, you know what I'm saying? So we create everything, hobby, whatever you might think is recreational can really look like destruction, you know what I'm saying? But it was what we didn't know what else.
It was fight or flight all the time.
Every time, you know what I'm saying? And everything was just it was just a battle. It was a daily battle, which I'm grateful for. I'm not gonna lie. It's not something I look down and be like, man, I'm sad about it. But it's just something that you come from that to a more, I look at when I came to Northside or even New Haven, it was just like a safe environment, bro. With all these resources that I'm not used to. So just not knowing really how to respond to shit like that.
Well, and I would say this.
Even the diversity. I mean, diversity was weird to me. Diversity, in Gary, predominantly dark-skinned people. You know what I mean? I was considered a white boy. You know what I'm saying? Just being real. So coming there and it's diverse. I'm like, what the fuck is this? You know what I mean? I'm seeing Asian man. Look, I'm not used to seeing Asian people. I was like, there's fucking Asian people in this motherfucker. I only see them on movies. Dead ass.
Yep.
That's real shit. Very few Hispanics in Gary. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like
Northside's got Latinos galore, man.
bro, you feel me? So it was everything. I'm like, yo, this shit, Haitians. You know what I'm saying? I knew that was different than, you know what I mean, than all black people. You know what I'm saying? That I grew up around, hearing these different languages. I'm like, yo, what the fuck is this?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it was different, bro.
Well, and what my objective was at that time for you was like, if we can harness and calm that into like where you could control.
Yeah.
All the noise that you had dealt with before allowed you to be more disciplined later.
For sure.
You know,
No, for sure.
And that because there's some stats about successful people that come from backgrounds like yours, where like a rose trying to grow in the concrete.
Yeah. So real shit.
End up being way more successful than people who had everything handed to them, and then they just kind of run up the score at the end.
Yeah.
You know, there's a growing body of research just about that. Now, Gustavo, like, obviously you're Latino, right? Were you born in the U.S.?
Yeah.
Okay, so your parents, they emigrated?
My dad did. My mom was born in Chicago, so was I.
Okay.
But my dad, yeah, he's from Mexico.
So he probably busts his ass at work on the regular basis.
Yeah.
And I bet any amount of money too that kind of, you saw that and it kind of drives you to be successful. Because here's the thing, like when I used to play basketball in the league out on Covington, right? And they're like, oh, you teach at Northside. That's got to be real tough. There's like all those all those E&L students and Asians and Latinos. And I was like, look, honestly, the Asians and the Latinos are the least of my problems. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're serious. Look, just this year at Portage and the year before that, guess who got it done on the iLearn test? My Latinos. The Latinos, they're serious. They've seen what it's like.
Right.
And some of their parents, they work all these odd jobs just to like scrape by. You know? So that's why these kids, they're serious. And that's why I like teaching where I teach. You know, I'm not saying that's all I teach, but like, you know, but getting back to that, if you know what your struggles were and the people that were the ones that turned the trajectory and you know why you're here, that's half the battle. Because then you can say, this is what I want. And then you can make a plan to get there.
Yeah.
But if you don't know why you are where you are, you don't have any power to dictate your own future. And that was one of the training things that I attended. So, and I think a lot of people, they live an unexamined life. They just go through, they do a lot of this.
Right.
I'm not saying that that's all bad, but it's not helping, you know? Which we had a conversation not long after you graduated high school. You're like, these kids are getting worse.
Yes.
And do you still stand by that?
Yes, definitely. Actually, let me see. Because I mean, even at that point, I wasn't even a mentor in the schools. But now, since being a mentor in the school system, yes, I do. I think I look at it as worse. Why? I just feel like everything's pacified. You know what I'm saying? Everything's pacified. We just kind of, which like you said, we had a little conversation before, and I was just talking about how I just feel like everything's just being brushed over. Anything they're doing, it's like very little discipline being done. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's like okay, it's all right. It's just another day of him. As long as you do a little bit better today than you did yesterday. And if you do a little bit worse, I mean, everybody's still alive. Yeah, it's like there's an excuse of crazy bullshit ass response to everything.
Well, to lower the standards.
To lower the standards. To keep to lower and to keep the standards just low, period. Right? So there's like, we don't have high expectations for these kids, bro. There's not, bro. It's like the ones that are excelling off this low expectational ass fucking system. Congratulations.
Here's your
you have to really work too hard because we're paying so much attention to low fucking expectation kids. So the whole curriculum is built off low. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it is. I mean,
that's how it feels. That's how it looks to me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because it's not a challenge for like me when I'm when I grew up in school and I watch some of them. Like if you're smart, you're actually smart. You don't have to work that hard.
Well, that's the thing is I'll go back to a lot of that has to do with It's not the curriculum. Like the curriculum that we teach now in Fort Wayne Community Schools, particularly in language arts,
Yeah.
if you're following it's a great cohesive curriculum. The units go together well. The readings are challenging and yet at the same time engaging if you're following what they're supposed to do. But there's that relational piece of the teacher and the atmospheric conditions in the classroom that I think get undermined by some of the noise that you just talked about. So like one of the dynamics, you guys know that I have a principal's license.
Okay.
I'll never use it probably because now you can't be
cool
nice anymore. Like you have
Yeah.
to be, you're the bad cop. If you're
Yeah.
doing your job right, no kid should want to see the principal. You know what I'm saying? Like if I come to you, Gustavo, come with me. You should be scared a little bit. You see what I'm saying? These kids be like, oh, hey, thank you for getting me out of class. You know?
Shit, for real.
Yeah.
No, for real.
And I think one of the worst times in my teaching career took place was in 2013-14. And so you might have been a senior at that time.
14, we graduated in 14.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that sophomore class that I had that year,
Okay.
they were the roughest, toughest group I ever had.
You said that. I remember this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and the stats bear this out because, one of my favorite students, I'm not going to name him, but he committed homicide, one of the most egregious ones in Fort Wayne's history. And, you know, he was one of my favorite students. He passed the English 10 ECA. I have a letter from him where he's like, I got you, Bailey. That's what the letter said. Like, what you said about life and about motive, I got you. I'm going to work hard for you. I have his handwritten note at my house.
Damn.
And I'm almost tempted to like reach out to him because I think I know where he's locked up. But the thing is that when he left Northside and he went to New Haven, everybody who knew him and knew that he was in trouble, all of his connections with positive adults pretty much disappeared. And when you don't have connection, you have nothing to lose. And that's what puts you into the position of you know, because he really was enacting the justice of the streets. This person had stolen from him, and he can't take that. If he doesn't do anything about it, more people will steal from him. So, and that's that catch-22 of that environmental factor. And that's what we have to get these kids out of that mindset. Like, you don't have to do anything to prove yourself because this bad thing happened. The best thing to do is to get out of the environment because, you know, blood begets blood. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. By the end of the day, nobody can see and nobody can talk. And you have to unprogram some of these kids from that mindset. Sometimes the mindset that their parents taught them.
Yes.
So, but that was the challenge of that group. They were so hard to teach. I didn't take a single day off. Like I was sick. I went to work because they might have killed us up. That's how nervous I was about that group. But what made it even more difficult, and I'm unapologetic if this is on social media or whatever, but there was this dynamic of when a kid did something bad, the kid, like let's say I wrote a referral, which, you know, I would have been a big referral writer.
I don't remember you writing referrals.
I
remember if you wrote a fucking
I think
referral
I've
in my year.
written less than 10 in 21 years.
I'm dead ass. I don't remember that. You dealt with your shit yourself.
Well, and a lot of times I don't
I
need
remember
their
that.
help, you know?
Yeah, no, I remember you dealing with yourself.
But so early on in the year, I had written up a kid because he cussed me out. He cussed everybody out in the classroom, slammed the door on his way out for no reason. I was like, hey, how you doing today? And I was like, all right, you got to go. Like, you can't just do that, okay? And then he flipped everyone the bird and slammed the door.
For real, that's real shit.
And I was just as calm as I am right now.
But you know that wasn't
So I was like, I have to write this up. Well, he went down student services. I found this out. And when I got the referral back, the consequence, they put the consequence on the, they still haven't changed that referral form. It's the same referral form that you had.
Wow.
You know, do anything digitally. Just making more paperwork. But conference with student, right?
So that's the consequence.
Yeah, it was a consequence. He was having a bad day, right? I had written another kid up because he had done something that was like sexual harassment toward a female student. Conference with student. Female says that's just him. That's just Billy.
Okay.
I wrote another referral because this girl cussed me out because I needed this. Like when they came to class every 9 weeks, I used to have to make sure your textbook was your textbook. All you had to do was show me the number on the side, and then I'd be like, done.
Match, yeah.
Well, she was like, my textbook's over there. And I'm like, that's not your textbook because those are the ones I didn't check out to anybody. Your textbook is number 156. That's 222. So she walked over, just grabbed a textbook off the thing and was like, this is my textbook. I was like, it's not your textbook. Just bring me your textbook tomorrow. And she's like, well, I'm about to effing cuss you out. And I was like, well, you're technically cussing me out right now. It's not a big deal. Just bring me your textbook tomorrow. And she escalated the situation. And I said, oh, look, don't worry about it. Like, stay here. She said, no, I'm about to go to the principal's office because this is some effing bullshit, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay.
Damn.
So I wrote that up. And the consequence said, so conference with student says that's her textbook. So like you're contradicting me in the referral. Oh, I went down there and I talked to this administrator and I'm like, I had just had an administrative internship at Snyder. Kids that cussed out teachers at Snyder, they went home for a day, 3 days. They didn't do that. Like, Miss Watson wasn't going to take that. And I'm not going to let the adults get trounced like that. So I'm like, you can't do that. And then they're like, well, he was having a hard day and blah, blah, blah. And I finally, he goes, you know what this person really likes is Nutrageous bars. He likes candy bars. And now my plan period's almost over. The bell's about to ring. And I'm like, you want me to buy him candy bars? Like the problem is I haven't bought enough candy bars. And that's why he's got carte blanche, cuss people out, right?
Yeah.
And that's when I just stopped writing referrals. If a kid acted a fool in that year, I knew I had no backing from the administration. So if they were acting a fool, I'd be like, go to the office. I'll write up the referral later. And I'd never write the referral. Because if I did, I was just setting myself up for more disappointment. Because they were going to be like,
no support with that shit.
Can you work with Bill? Look, it came to a point where like Billy needs to be away so I can educate everybody else that's interested.
That's what I was saying with that pacified shit, man. That's what I'm saying. Like that shit is just like, come on, man. You have no. It's no discipline, bro.
Well,
you can just do whatever the fuck you want to.
But that's the thing is
it's
that
still like that.
But maybe from your point of view,
yeah.
in my world, I think we've gotten away from that a lot. I think there's times where there's been some kids that got passes that shouldn't have, and then we've also hammered some kids that didn't deserve to be hammered. It's so it's always a catch-22, and that's why you can't pay me enough to be an administrator because. You have to be a master's degree janitor. Like, oh, there's some dirt. I got to get rid of the dirt. And you also, what I was getting back to is that environmental thing of the classroom. Yeah. Like you got a curriculum. If you have a good curriculum with good planning and you got a good environmental situation, things work out. And you have so much say as a teacher on the environment. I mean, you guys saw it firsthand. We had no problems. Like, I don't remember. We only had that one thing where those two kids got in a fight, and it was pathetic. And basically, I just moved the one guy out into the hallway, locked the door, and then
that shit was funny, bro.
That
shit was funny, bro.
I was like, the fight's over.
Bro. It was not a fight, bro. What the fuck that was, bro?
No, they were not.
That was not no fight, bro. Whatever the fuck that was, I know that wasn't no fight.
It's bad.
I didn't want to fight, bro. Why are you doing all this shit, bro?
Well, yeah, you remember too, like, do you remember I was like, hey, the fight's over, and he's like, I'll go through you. And I said,
Yes.
no, you won't.
Yes, bro.
And he's like, and then he's like, you a bitch. And I was like,
You had to be there.
I go, what did you say to me?
You had to be there.
He's like, you a bitch. I said, you said, do you have indigestion? Did you just call me a bitch?
Bro, yo, that shit was hilarious, bro.
And that's exactly what I said. I said, that's hilarious.
Bro, it was hilarious, bro. Nobody took him serious, bro. I couldn't take, and it's crazy how big he fucking was. It was like soft as fuck.
But that's the thing is that,
oh, bro,
you know, in retrospect, I felt bad for him because he's only doing what he's been taught to do outside of school. And so I'm not mad at him, and I didn't take it personally because he's just doing well, you can't let the teacher show you up. Yeah. And so he was doing what he thought was the right thing according to this ethos. And, you know, but that's the other part of this too is, you know, we just kind of shared some stories about when it didn't work. But let me tell you something about when it worked, okay? So,
and we're approaching the last 5.5 minutes.
Okay. We went that long.
I promise.
I believe it.
We're making it shake. Let's do it.
So, starting that year, I started to really track students. And what I learned when I was at Northside for 2013, 14, 14, 15, 15, 16, 16, 17, tracked every student that I ever saw in a given school year. So I'd always begin and end the year with about 180 students. But what became apparent to me was that I would see as many as 250 students in a year. Because think about 180 start, some of them get expelled, some of them move away, blah, blah, blah. And they're immediately replaced by other people. So even though you start and end with 180 people, you really see like 2.5 class periods more worth of people in an environment like Northside. Wow. And that's just as true at Northrop as it is at, you know, Grand Rapids Union High School, where I did my student teaching. And so what happens is there's all this churning of people. And the reason that it's happening is because these people are living in unstable environments.
Yes.
It's poverty.
That makes so much sense.
Getting evicted here, getting evicted there. And the kids suffer as a result of that. It actually hurts because you've spent all this time teaching and then they're gone. And then this other group comes in, and whatever you taught that other group is wasted, and you have to reteach this group because you don't know where, most of the time they didn't get taught where they came from. But so if you see 250 students in a given year, even though you only teach 180, you know, because you're looking at 30 per class, 6 classes a day, that has an effect. And it has a stressing effect on the teacher. That's why you got to stay calm in the jungle. In the jungle, it's most important above all things to stay calm. The second thing that I did was I tracked how many times they were either absent or tardy from my class. At the end of each quarter, I did a snapshot and put it in the spreadsheet. The other thing I put in the spreadsheet is we used to do those acuity tests. I would keep all the data. And then when we got the scores for the English 10 ECA at the end of the year, I put that whether they passed or not. There's something just as true now at Portage Middle School as was true back then. Okay. Now, I can't talk about specific students and I can't talk about percentages, but I will say this. At Portage Middle School, of the 8th graders, 100% of them that either passed or were above proficiency had great attendance. The same thing was true out of those 4 years at Northside. There was only one exception. There was one dude who skipped all of his classes, was hanging out with the ghost of Chief Mac at Northside, but because he was like one of these crazy, like really smart people, he showed up to like less than 8 of my classes, came to the ECA and passed it, right? And I D-minused him. It was the only credit he had. But getting back to the point, if you're in school, you have a great, great, great likelihood of being successful on the measured things. And that's why, too, like you were talking about test scores. Like, my students are not test scores. But tests are informative because they tell me whether or not I did my job.
And from the moment you got them.
Yeah.
From the moment you got them.
Yes.
Yep. No,
So
for
there-
sure.
there's-
That
there's a-
measures it. You're right.
There's a place for testing. Like you wouldn't like start a basketball team not knowing like
No, you're right.
whether people
I
can
get
hit
what
free
you're saying.
throws. You know?
It's like the measurements. You know what I'm saying? It's just about measuring. You know where they started, know where they got to since you had them.
Hmm. And I'm not going to judge based upon those measurements. The data is neither alive nor dead. It's informative, and then what you're looking for is improvement. You know,
There you go.
effort, enthusiasm, intensity, and then improvement. That last branch of the tree, so to speak. And so, if there's any big message that I have,
That's so crazy you saying that because I was about to ask you that. You know, we close it out with what's your biggest message you were leaving with, or yeah.
well, my message is this for all the teachers out there. It is a difficult struggle. Being a teacher has never been harder than it is today. These kids are, they face problems, and some of these problems are not new,
Yeah.
but they're magnified by the seductive bite of social media.
Yep.
Like when they threaten each other on social media, that's why there's more violence, because it's permanent.
Yes.
So we've got some new problems that are magnifying old problems, because we've always had poor kids, we've always had violent kids. It just seems worse because of that elixir of social media. But do not give up the fight. It is worth the time. And you have to stay engaged in the process of being a professional. You have to be actively involved in voting, because voting is how we get power. The politicians that we vote for make decisions, and you have to stay engaged and informed on that process. And if you don't, you're being negligent. And if you don't vote for your self-interests, you're being negligent to yourself. And some of these people will vote for the dumbest reasons ever. And I'll be like, why? How does that help your bottom line? And it doesn't. So why are you doing it?
Okay.
So that's one of the things with the project, with the coalition. To all the parents out there, man, take that phone from them kids. Take that phone from them
Bro,
kids.
that's literally what I be saying to my niece and nephew, bro. No, bro, shit. Get that shit out their fucking hand.
And put a book in there. Put a book, put art in it, give them musical instruments, let them do some stuff that's based upon reality. Heck, have them like, when you're cooking, have them stand next to you and learn how to cook and like cut vegetables and
Man,
stuff.
literally.
Doing stuff like that's real.
Don't say they're too young. Get them involved.
Yeah.
Find a little responsibility.
Yeah.
If they're too little, find a little responsibility that they can do.
And then when the school calls home, don't take the kid's side. Your kid got in trouble for a very good reason. You can't defend the indefensible.
Real ass shit.
You know, I mean, I had this in the last couple of years. Well, it's happened multiple times, where the parent will sit in the conference where the kid's being expelled, and the parent will go, "Well, if somebody called me a bitch, I'll beat their ass too." I'm like, "Well, this is why she did that." Like you're advocating violence because of words, right? So be on the school's side. You'd be amazed. Like, accountability is a form of love. And all the students out there, there is no substitute for effort, enthusiasm, intensity, and improvement. You focus on those 4 things in your life, and you look, and it's hard because sometimes these teachers are boring, okay? Not all of us.
For real. They're not for real.
Yeah.
What is it called? Monotone.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And just boring.
But at the end of the day, they are teaching you something that you're going to need. They wouldn't just be teaching stuff randomly. And you have to manufacture enthusiasm. You have to fake it until you make it. I mean, and that was the turnaround for me at the age of 19. You think I really liked sociology when I got to that class? And I had the most boring professor in world civilization. I used to have to bring coffee to that class just to stay awake. And then I'd stay awake and I took notes the whole time. And I got an A+ in that class. And to this day, I learned what was in that class. Now, did the guy talk? Here we go. This is the thing. Like, he talked 2 hours straight. No notes either. Like, and then here's the test. Good luck. But like, if you can manufacture some enthusiasm for what the teacher's offering you, and also disown and disavow your need to please other students in the class, because all these so-called friends of yours, 99% of them are not going to be with you 5 years from now.
He's not lying. We graduated 10 years ago. He's not lying.
This is not the norm. And in fact, too, you guys had to go your own ways before you came back together.
Luckily, we always stayed in touch.
Yeah, but like,
But even we did go our own ways though.
Mhm.
We did go our own ways, respectfully. Like you said, yeah, we did go our own ways and wound up connecting again still.
so you don't gotta prove anything. Just like,
Nah.
like
And the thing about it too, though, even if you use us as an example, the difference between us is where we weren't those that were trying to we weren't doing shit to try to be popular or trying to be cool.
mhm,
I was being me, he was being him, and we just embraced each other
mhm,
as simply that.
mhm.
I could tell you love me, I got love for you, man, and we just want the best for each other. It was that simple. If y'all friends ain't like that, definitely don't fucking get on no damn time or attention. If all they want to do is see you just act up and do this. Yeah, fuck that.
Right.
No, seriously, because that was big for us. That's why we lasted so long. It was like we always knew it was real.
Well, and that's the big deal is that like the most you remember that after I said this on day one. The most important person in the classroom is you, and no one, not me, the teacher. And you don't owe anything to any of these other people. And if they're disrespectful to you, that's not your problem. You gotta be like Jay-Z, like 99 problems. Bitch ain't one, right?
Bitch ain't one. Which is your favorite song? I remember you used to recite that shit, bro. I used to recite the shit out of that shit, bro. Bailey used to recite that shit. I remember that shit, yo.
My new favorite one is the Bishop Bullwinkle. Hell no.
Oh, man. Hey, man, y'all heard it, man. Hey, this is Thomas Bailey. We call him Mr. Bailey, man. Dopest, man. Y'all see him, man. What is the page again? You said
So we're
gonna put it in the description.
Yeah, the Coalition for Excellence in Public Education of Northeast Indiana. Yeah, we have an event coming up, and then we're going to be doing more and more things as we go toward November. So we're going to have bigger and bigger events available, and it's to fundraise, but also to get people talking and getting engaged in making significant social change and helping the quality of public education in Northeast Indiana.
Because people actually do still care about public education. Again, I'm grateful I ever went through it. He went through it, bro. Public education, man. Everybody talking about moving their kids to. How about we just improve the public education? Ain't no fucking moving shit. Improve it. And that's what he's doing, man. That's what him and his woman and whoever their team is, that's what they're aiming to do. So.
Well, hey, and the last thing too, shout out to all the kids at Portage Middle School whose iLearn scores have gotten better compared from last year to this year in language arts. Like we're going the correct way. Portage Rams representing, and also city runner-up in basketball and in football. I enjoyed all coaching. Well, I didn't coach, but I enjoy watching Coach Dean and you guys go to work. You guys are a fun group of kids to have, even if you got a little too rambunctious at times.
That part. Appreciate that.
Not with me, but
no, just we know what you're saying. So man, hey, again, man, simple as it gets, y'all. Like it if you like it. Comment if you got a moment. Share if you care, or if somebody you care about can benefit from this content, man. Hit that share button, and if you're down for the ride,
go ahead and subscribe.
Man, it's your boy Waze, man.
Yes, sir, your boy G Buddies.
And
T-Bizzle for shizzle.
T-Bizzle for shizzle. Love you, baby. Love you, baby.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
I'm gonna stand up finally. It's good to see you guys, man. Always good to see you.
Love you, baby. Love you, man.